Okay, as the title shows, how to make simple confetti. Now, simple confetti means by physics. So what we're going to do is put a few items in the scene and show you how to make it react. First thing I do is I go in and I check the project and preferences, and I want to make sure it's snapped to model. I want the transform gizmo on here so I can see what I'm doing. The autoplay motion, it doesn't matter. There's really no motion involved here. And the angle snap I'm going to use for the infinite planes that I turn and produce a capture tool. If you look over here in the content, I've got under here props and infinite plane. Now when you go up here and create an infinite plane, you're going to get this. You see how small it is. It comes in as a dummy. So if I go into the scene, you can do a modify, set it as a dummy, and you'll still see it. I'm going to turn this layer off here so you can see it. There it is right there, that little pink item down there at the bottom. It's very small. So what you want to do is rescale it and not set it as a dummy, or you can leave it as a dummy and press Control D to show it. This right here is also an arrow, and it's going to rescale based on this infinite plane size. So put it in the scene and scale it up so you can see it. Now this is just the bottom of the box. So I'm going to hit W. I'm going to move it down. The arrow has no effect. It's the infinite plane has the effect. If you look at the infinite plane over here and you go to physics, it's activate object static. Static means it doesn't move. It's not affected by the other physics. Okay, so your arrow, if you notice, has no physics. It's just a pointing tool so you know which direction the infinite plane is facing. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to press E, and I want to duplicate it and put one on each side, one at the front and one at the back. Now in order to do that, I want to take this arrow. I'm going to come over here and I'm not going to set that as a dummy. I'm just going to leave it visible for now. But I am going to turn this back and press Control D. It still gives me my infinite plane direction, but it won't get in the way when I start making these duplicates. I'm going to press Shift, pull back. This is the floor of your physics constraint. So choose your infinite plane, hit the letter E, and the first one you need to do is the back wall. So press E, press Control, pull, and you'll see as you do that, the arrow turns at a 90-degree angle towards you. Push it back by hitting the letter W, and push it back so that the infinite plane, you can press Control D now to see it, is on the back of this other infinite plane. Now it runs forever. I can put it all the way back here. It doesn't matter. But for a box to contain, you need it up close so that it stays within range of the others in the grouping. It's going to be a 5-sided box when I'm done here. I want to take this infinite plane, make sure you're on the rotation line here, the blue, press Control and drag, and it should snap to a 90-degree angle. Now your arrow is pointing to the left. Hit W, move it over. The idea is to contain your physics. It doesn't have to be right in your face here because it's going to cover from the back of the scene all the way to the front. This one you can just do a Control drag and drag it straight over, but you want to make sure that your arrow is pointing in. So hit E, and you want to rotate this twice. Once, twice. Brings your arrow in. You can do the same thing with the one in the back, which is this one. If you turn it off, you'll find out which one it is. Turn it on, turn it off, and you can hit W. You can go ahead and drag that. Press Control and drag and pull it in. Now make sure your arrow is pointing in. So E, grab the blue, click it twice. Now it faces in. You can't see through it. That was the point of hiding the infinite plane, but not the arrow. So now if I press Control D, it hides. But W, pull it back. The idea here is to contain what's going up. Now we can take the rest of these arrows themselves and make those dummies if you want. That way you can't see them and the other infinite planes don't get in the way. So we come in here, we set all the arrows to dummies. You can choose all four, but you can't set them to dummies as a group. So you have to do each one. Set as a dummy, set as a dummy, and set as a dummy, and one more on the ground plane. And if you press Control D, you can still see everything. Pull back with your camera, and let's see if we've got a box here. This is a containment area. Now these two on the side, remember they reach from front of the scene to the back, so it doesn't matter the location. It's just as long as they're adjacent to the edge of this bottom layer, this bottom infinite plane, which is pointing up. And they are. So everything's fine. Next thing you need to do once you built this box, this is a 5-sided box. Your upper is going to be open in order for the confetti to rise. So we'll go back here, we'll hit K, and that shows us everything that's in the scene so far. Press Control D to hide the dummies. And now you see nothing except the grid in the background. On this project, I'm going to take and hide that background temporarily. That way we have everything in the scene. If I hit K, I'm going to stay right where I'm at. The K shows you everything in the scene. The next thing we need in the scene is a box that we're going to use physics on to send it up as confetti. So if you come into your content, you have to have something that will work as a physics item. I'm going to use this checkered cube. So apply it to the scene, hit the F key. And I call it a checkered cube because I left one side of it checkered, so that you could see how you change the materials. Choose each side of the material, and if you open it here, you can also go up here and collapse this list collapse, and then open your props and do your checkered cube. Now I believe it's object 2 has got the face that's still checkered, so I hit the letter Y, and it is. Just delete your material. Now we want each one to have a different color each side of the box in order to create the colored confetti. So you go to this. First side doesn't matter. You can start with object 1 if you want to. And we're going to go in here and we're going to make the same diffuse and ambient color for each one. So come in here and start building your colors. Let's make the first one red. Add to custom colors. Let's see. Contrasting. We'll go with this. Add to custom. Go to blue. Add to custom. Yellow. Let's go with bright. Add to custom. Let's see. Green. Add to custom. And we need one more color. Let's make it pink. Add to custom colors. Now you've got 6 colors to choose from. You start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you'll cover all boxes. Use the first one. That's your diffuse color. Ambient, also diffuse. Okay? Same as diffuse. Go to the next object. Same thing. And you just keep repeating that cycle. 2. Okay. And 2. Alright, that's your cube. Now those cube pieces have to have a different color in order so you get different confetti. In here, with this item, you need to take each one of these objects, which are the sides of the cube, go into your physics panel and activate the physics. You don't want them physically active in the first part. So what we're going to do is we're going to make those static. We want to make all these static until we get to about frame 60. So I'm going to go and type in frame 60, and that's why I have the frame number down here instead of time right now. The time is only 30 seconds, 1800 frames. So we go down to 60. And once you're in that frame, once you type in 60, you change it to either dynamic or frozen, depending on what you want to do. If you want a kinematic to hit it and make it react, then you set it to frozen. If you want all the pieces to react to each other, make it dynamic. It's entirely up to you. I'm just going to go ahead and make it real easy, make them all dynamic. And that's it. Then you have to choose what your bounding type is. If you make it a box, it's going to be a flat slide. It's not really going to do a whole lot. So you want to put this on a capsule. Change your shape to a capsule X. You'll notice it turns into like a little ball. It's almost like a sphere. If you want to make it all spheres, you can do that. It gives you more bounding parameters around that field. Entirely up to you. Your collision margin should be higher or a little bit higher than 0.8. So I just dial it up. It doesn't matter. Dial it up. It's only going to go as far as these infinite planes allow it to go anyway, except for at the top. It's going to continue to rise up. And then once you've decided on your bounding type and your collision margin, you're going to be recording this with this active right here. And this doesn't matter. You can leave that off. It doesn't matter. There's no soft cloth involved here. So we go up to the top again. Everything's been set. It's got object gravity, which makes it fall. If there's no object gravity, everything will continue to rise. So go ahead and put your object gravity in, because once it rises far enough, it's going to come back down. And then it's going to react based on the elasticity here. You could make this 100 as your maximum. And make that as far as it goes. Every time it hits another side of the cube, it's going to react. The elasticity. The mass is lightweight. You can make it heavier, but it will fall heavier. The friction, when it hits something, do you want it to stick? That's friction. Damping just slows it down. So your friction is 5. Leave it at 5. That's fine. All right. So we're ready to begin and show you just the first cube. And that's all it's going to do. It's going to react. Once it gets to frame 60, it's going to take off and do what it's supposed to do. I'm going to hit Q to deselect that cube. And you'll see what it does at frame 60, you see. It reacts. Now everything's bouncing as a ball. There's not a whole lot of activity in here because there's not a whole lot to react. There's only 6 sides and they react into each other and they push away. So put it in by frame mode. Make sure that your physics is active up here. And I'm going to pull back again so you can see what it does. Now it's reacting to the infinite planes. If I press Control D, you can see the reaction to it. I'm going to press Q, choose this item. I'm going to turn it off temporarily. Okay. Evidently that's not the right one. Let's see which one it is. It's probably the last one I pick, and it is. So I'm going to turn the rest on. Okay. The only one that's off is the one in the front here. It's still got its physics properties. You just can't see it. So I'm going to press play, and you'll see it react to the physics panels on the side. It can only go out as far as the panels on the other side, on each side. You see them bouncing around because they've got a ball to them, or a ball sphere item. Once they hit that infinite plane, you'll see they bounce right back in. They've got nowhere to go. So go in here if you want more reaction. Choose all your objects. Give them more of a bounding collision. Or give them a capsule. On X, increase this bounding like, say, 300. Now watch the reaction when it hits it. Boom. You get more reaction out of it because it's got more bounding collision. It's still reacting to that infinite plane. It can only go as far as it allows it. And that's the basics of it. It's got more of a bounding margin, and it will never go beyond the infinite planes because they're static and they stop everything. Now you see where it's hitting here, down here, here, back wall. And if it made it out this far to the front, it probably did. You can't see it because I don't have it visible. Then it's going to continue to react until you run out of frames. So what I'm going to do now is, now that I've got the collision margin I want, I'm going to duplicate it using only this dummy here. Now, when you get a whole list of these, you're going to find out going down, collapsing it like this is going to be a pain. So go over here, and do a list collapse. What it will do is collapse everything in the scene, and all you need is this. And we're going to slide this over to the left, like this. And then we're going to do a Control K. We're going to multi-duplicate this and decide how many we want. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, that's enough to start with. And say OK. And they've all now got the same physics properties as this first cube, this first checkered cube. Sort by name, and you still get it. There they all are. Okay. Now when I come in here, I'm in biframe mode. All those cubes will react the same way. Press biframe. And at frame 60, they all break apart. Now you'll notice, hit stop. I'm going to press K again to come back. I'm going to leave this one side of the infinite plane open. And I'm going to press Control G to get rid of the grid so that you can see this lower one. If you make this lower, this infinite plane itself, you can actually bring it down here below it so that they drop a little bit. Press play. And you notice they go straight up because of the reaction and the bounding on it. If you want to keep them in a contained box, then you take this bottom plane, you do the same thing we did before, hit letter E, Control drag, clicks 90, and drag it again without the control. Press W, pull it up, and the arrow says you can't go up any higher than this. Okay? So it will contain everything within the boundaries of these infinite planes. Now we'll press biframe again, press Control D to hide everything except the cubes. I'll hit Q, so I deselect everything, and let's see how high they go this time. Now they're contained within a box. It's a physics containment box. It's got 6 sides. They can't go any higher, but now your confetti stays within a controlled zone. And you can wait for it to move. You can always go back in and choose those cubes or those cube sides and change the bounding again. But with the bounding they've got now, they'll run forever in that they keep reacting to each other as they're dynamic. Once you get to the end of your frames at 1800, it will stop. And that's how you make confetti. If you want to control its flow, you can do this. Hit Control D if you want it to go out the back. And I hit this final plane here. I can go into this infinite plane. I can go in here and I can disable its physics, and it will shoot out the back by deactivating the physics. Now watch what happens when I hide the dummies, press biframe. It's still recording because this is active. It's going to shoot out the back. You see? Because I opened the wall. I said go ahead and exit the wall if you want to. And that's how you send your physics items into a specified direction. It's open. It's no longer physics there. If you want to control the distance, again, you go back to the infinite plane that you had there. Press Control D. Take this plane. Again, activate its physics and push it back. Hit W and you can push it back where it only goes this far. It's active again, therefore it's going to take control and only allow the confetti to go out this far. And you can create almost infinite shapes like a cone or whatever you want to do with these infinite planes. Just make sure that your arrow points in. It says nothing goes beyond this point. In other words, this is your active surface pointing in. This is your active surface for this one pointing in. The arrow says this is the direction the infinite plane reacts. I'll show you that in just a second. I'll go biframe again. I'll leave those on so you can see that it hits that back wall and can't go any further. and it just holds right there. That's based on what size you want your confetti to be. Now I'm going to do this again. We've seen that. I'm going to take this back wall again, and we hit E, and I'm going to turn the arrow away. 1 click, 2 clicks. That's 180 degrees. The arrow is no longer facing in. It's facing out. It has no effect on what's coming at it. It's like blindsiding the infinite plane. So I'm going to hit biframe again, and it'll go right through there because it's got no control. The infinite plane only faces one direction, and that's why the arrow's on there to show you which direction to face. And that's how you make confetti. It's not that hard to do. It's just a matter of I'm providing a free project to anybody that wants it, but for those of you who want to make your own and control it, you can take the free project and change it. You can take the cubes and change it. You can change your colors. You can put a pattern on it, whatever you want to do, and then it's all yours. But physics are not that hard to understand. You just have to work with them a little bit. I'm going to turn this back in where it's not at a 90-degree angle. So I go into my preferences and I take the snap off. Let's say I want it to go at a slight angle and shoot out this direction. It will. I'm going to hit W, move it over where it shoots off in this direction. And I'll press Control G to show the grid so that you see it shooting off in that direction. I'm going to turn it. That infinite plane says, when you hit me, you've got to go in that direction. You've got no choice. So I'm going to hit W, pull it in, give it a slight offset where it shoots. It goes up, hits, and goes out. That's it. Cricky out.